All week long here at 104.5 The Team, we've been following our Section 2 alumni who are on their way to spring training, who are already there. One guy who's there putting in extra work is Maple Hill graduate Jaime Schultz in the Rays system. Jamie, thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Jamie, a 14th round pick in the 2013 draft. Jamie, I got to ask you this. We've talked to a bunch of guys this week. We've talked to Matt Gage from Broadalbin-Perth. We've talked to JP Sportman. We've talked to Brian O'Keefe. I've asked them what are their expectations for their first spring. You've been there already. Tell me what it's really like.
You know, it's a long grind, and it's a busy situation. There's tons of guys running around all the time, and a lot of people think it's a time for you to get ready for the season. But once you come into spring training, you better be already set for the season. And the biggest objective is just to break camp and figure out where you're going to be going when you're 100% healthy after everything. And it's a crazy time, but you get used to it. And I mean, everyone looks forward to it every year. I mean, it's basically the start of the season, so we're ready to get rock and rolling.
Jamie, you had an injury last year right at the end of spring training. How are you feeling health-wise this year?
I'm feeling 100%, and I mean, that injury was pretty random. I had an appendectomy right before we broke camp, so it kind of held me back for a little bit, but I'm ready to go now, and I feel great.
You missed the first almost 2 months of the season last year with that injury. As soon as you come back, you pretty much started dominating at the A-ball level, had a 12-strikeout game. What was it that was working for you last year when you came back?
You know, I think the extra time with the managers and the training staff down in Port Charlotte really helped me out just to focus and sharpen myself a little bit more. But, I mean, as soon as I got to Bowling Green, the guys made me feel really comfortable. And, I mean, it really wasn't like I missed a beat at all. I mean, it's like I had extra work to get ready, and sometimes it takes that. And I guess I was just more on point at that point in my life.
Anyone who's followed your career here back in the Capital Region knows that you've got the good fastball, mid to upper 90s fastball, but they've also seen now at the pro ball level you develop a good changeup and a good, really good secondary stuff. Here back home playing at Maple Hill, I'm sure you could dominate with the fastball. How much have you had to adjust your game at the pro ball level to work on that secondary stuff?
It's a huge part of your game. No matter how fast you throw, any guy will tell you throughout the MLB or the minors, eventually hitters are going to turn it around, and you need something to keep them off that. And I mean, the better your changeup is, the better your curveball is, and the better you can locate those pitches, the more life your fastball is going to look. I mean, there's guys out there that throw 88 to 90 and look like they're throwing a ball 100 miles an hour because they change speeds well. So, I mean, it's really all about how you back those pitches up, and it's a huge part of the pitching game.
Because you've got that great fastball, I've read some things online and just speculation, blog sites, things like that said maybe your best chance to get to the majors quickly is as a reliever where you can use that fastball predominantly, but you have worked exclusively as a starter pretty much throughout your entire time in the minor leagues. Do you know what the Rays' plans are for the future or what you're going to be working on mainly when spring training officially starts?
As far as I know, they want me to be a starter, and I'm all for it. I mean, I trust 100% in the Rays system. I mean, if you look back and see their track record, you can see the amount of guys that they've brought out, and every time they bring someone up, they're ready, and every time they bring someone up, they know their job. So, I mean, if we move forward with me being a starter, and that's the case, so be it. And if they want to throw me to the bullpen, I really don't care. It's just being out there and competing against the guys at the top level and making sure I'm ready to move up, and I'm all for it.
I'm just curious. He's no longer there. Joe Maddon no longer the manager of the Rays, but you were around him last year in camp. He seems like a character out on the field. I'm just curious what he's like in a spring training environment.
We're kind of separated from the major leaguers, but a lot of those guys coming in and out and talk to us all the time and have words of advice. But, I mean, seeing Maddon pull up in his little Chevy black truck and popping out with those glasses that everyone knows, and I mean, he's a friendly guy. I'm sure he sees tons of minor leaguers throughout his years, but he took the time to stop and talk to me and a couple of my buddies and just ask us how's it going. So, I mean, he's just a great guy, and I wish him all the best.
Along with the environment of spring training and minor league baseball, now you've been around it for 2 seasons. I got to ask, and I worked for the Valley Cats last summer, so I got to see it every night. The minor league promotions and things that go on between innings, how much do you pay attention to that stuff, and does that stuff distract you while you're playing the game? I've always wondered that.
I mean, a lot of us guys like to sit back and watch, and I mean, for me, if I'm not playing, I'm obviously into the game, but in between innings, I can take time to watch them joke around, and it's always a good laugh to see people flying around the field. But I mean, if you're in a game, there's no way you're paying attention there. You got too much to worry about. But like I said, if you're not really into the game and you got that little bit of time to sit back and breathe, it's hilarious watching these guys run around.
One thing I wanted to ask you specifically, since we set up this interview, is now you played at Maple Hill, a smaller school, and a lot of times people in this area, but in all areas, they think you have to play at a big school or have to play at a big college to get to that pro level. But obviously that wasn't the case for you. You know, I've always been an advocate. If you're good enough, they'll find you. That certainly worked with you. What would you say to a kid who plays at a small school listening to this interview, you know, who has pro aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, you said it exactly right. I mean, if you're good enough, they'll find you. And I would say just keep on your grind, you know. If you put in the work and put in the time and effort, it's not going to go unnoticed. Someone's going to say, hey, how about this kid? I see him working all the time, and I see him putting out that effort. And, I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. You could have an off day, but they know your skills and they know how good you are. So, I mean, play as often, as much as you can, and put in 100% effort every time you try.
Jaime Schultz, Maple Hill graduate, with us here at spring training already, getting some extra work. Doesn't officially report with the Rays camp until March 6th. Jamie, I'm a couple years older than you. When I was playing, Tommy Canley was a guy that we looked to locally. He's a guy who's in the majors now. He's kind of a guy you knew had it back then. Murphy Smith, a few years older than me with the A's, spent last year in Double-A, a little older than us. Brendan Harris, Tim Stauffer, guys that have played in the majors. But now, this kind of next wave of guys right around your age. Mike Fish in your draft class, and then the guys we've talked to this week. Matt Gage, Brian O'Keefe, Jeff Hoffman we'll have on next week. You guys are part of a small fraternity here that's really helping put the Northeast and the Capital Region kind of on the landscape as far as pro ball. How cool is it to be part of that small fraternity?
I mean, it's huge. Like, just growing up and playing travel ball and hearing about these guys and your small conferences making big deals, and I mean, just to know that you can come from a small town or small region and do something, it's awesome. And I mean, throughout our careers, no matter what happens, we'll always have home to turn to and talk about. So, I mean, it's incredible to see this many guys making such a big leap into pro baseball and whatnot.
Jaime Schultz, Maple Hill graduate and spring training with the Rays. Jamie, thanks for being with us. Best of luck. We'll be following you throughout the summer here, and hopefully we're talking to you again real soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.